Hi everyone, Ben with Dream Factory here. In this short video, I'm going to show you how to connect to Cassandra with Dream Factory and get an instant API that's ready to use straight to Cassandra. So to get started, go ahead and get Dream Factory, install it wherever you like. You can get it from bitnami.com, search Dream Factory there, or go to our website and look at all the install options. Here I'm just installed locally, and that's what the demo will cover today. We'll be running Cassandra locally, in my case on a Mac, but you can obviously run it on any local machine or on a server. So it all pretty much works the same. So to set up Cassandra, it's very straightforward. Once you're in Dream Factory, you'll go to the Services tab. And setting up Cassandra is really the same as setting up any other NoSQL database in Dream Factory. So select Cassandra here, and I'm going to go ahead and just show you what one looks like. So here I've set up Cassandra on localhost. I've got it running. I'm going to give it a name of Cassandra. You can name it whatever you want. This is the name that will be used in your API calls. The label is so you can see it in the user interface and in the API docs, and you can optionally put in a description. Make sure that you check active. And then the rest is straightforward. You just have to put in some basic configuration data to get it up and running. Specify your host. In my case, I'm running locally. The port defaults to 9042, which generally is going to be the port that you're using for communication with Cassandra. But read the docs if you need to change that, the Cassandra docs that is. And then a Keyspace is required. So Keyspaces in SQL terms is basically a database. So you need to make sure that you have a Keyspace specified so that Dream Factory knows, okay, what database am I accessing or asking information for. And you can read about how to do that if you're not familiar with Cassandra online. It's pretty easy. There are also credentials for username and password. So obviously if you're running in production, you're going to want to put those credentials in here. And then there are a number of options as well, and that's specified in the docs. And you can also go to a blog post, which I'll show you there. But basically anything that you can pass into Cassandra in terms of connecting to it, you can pass as key value pairs in Dream Factory. So once you've done all of that, you can head on over to the API docs and start playing with the Cassandra API. So this API is documented with Swagger 2.0. It's instantly generated, so you don't have to write any API logic or code to get it working. The API works just like all of the other NoSQL APIs, same as MongoDB, CouchDB, Azure Tables, DynamoDB, etc. You've got a bunch of endpoints, pretty self-explanatory. You can operate on wholesale on schema. You can operate on specific tables within your schema. You can operate on fields within tables. And then really the key part is being able to operate on sets of records within your Cassandra tables. You can do all of the obvious CRUD operations on sets of records, and then you can also obviously operate on single records. And all of these are very sophisticated in terms of what types of parameters you can pass in. It works the same as all the other NoSQL APIs, and you can watch videos or read up on that in our documentation. So what I generally do is just test the API first, do a very basic call. One thing here is just something very basic, like let's just get the resources, the Cassandra resources. So I don't even have to enter anything here. I've configured the API with the host and port and everything, and I've got it. Obviously, the database is up and running locally, so I can try this out. And I should see returned first. You'll see the request with all of the session token and the API key in Dream Factory. The request URL is very simple: API v2, Dream Factory v2, and then Cassandra is the endpoint. The root endpoint, and then the resource gets returned, schema and table. So that in a 200, obviously. So that shows that the database is up and running and the API is live. Now this particular Cassandra database is empty, so you need to start, either it's populated or start putting some data in there via the API or via the Cassandra tools, and then you can start playing with the API before you start building a real application on it. The only other thing to point out, sometimes if this isn't working, troubleshooting it, you might get things like, there's no key space, so make sure that you've specified the key space when you set it up and that it's spelled correctly and that you actually have a key space in Cassandra. If you see like you can't connect to the host or something, you probably don't have Cassandra started. So in my case, if you're running on a Mac, using things like brew, you can do brew services start Cassandra, make sure that that's all successful just as a troubleshooting measure, and then you'll see data come back from the API. So that's it. A couple other things I want to point everyone to. There's a blog from September 1st, 2016, introducing the Dream Factory Cassandra service. This runs through a couple screenshots, really just covers what I just covered here, but talks a little bit about additional options that you can pass as well. So go check that out. And then you can always check out the DreamFactory docs, wiki.dreamfactory.com. And there's a bunch of data on how Cassandra works, a bunch of information as well as the other NoSQL databases. So that's it for this short demo. Hopefully this is helpful and shows you how you can easily connect to Cassandra and start using the Cassandra API in DreamFactory. Thanks.